All right, good morning, everybody. Appreciate you guys being here. We had the PPI data come out this morning. Core PPI at 0% over 0.2. Same thing for the PPI month over month. So both lower than expected, getting a little bit of a push up thanks to that data coming out. Cap rate a little bit higher than expected, and industrial production a little bit higher than expected. So yeah, all the readings today were pretty good. Seems like the market is reacting that way as well. We tried to go for lower value on 2 attempts. We had an attempt right at the open and slightly after the open, created a little bit of a bulldog there. So we had that double bottom, curved back, pop up, put in a 1 candle pullback, which is not great. You typically want to have a more defined head, but we had a little bit of a pullback there and then broke out. So now we are back into yesterday's value. So if we stay above 92, we're looking for 25, possibly even higher. Look for that POC as well, which is around 63.06. So right now we are starting a value retrace of yesterday. Let's take a look at our trade plan. Do we need to change this? No, trade plan is perfect. So holding above or below 92 is the way to determine who's in control today. Holding above 92, as I said, look for those upper levels, 25, 43. Look for 60 and 38 on the downside. 60 did already get hit, but we're going to target that level anyway, because that would be the overnight low anyway. So it's going to be a good target regardless. So keep an eye on that. We will keep an eye on 92 as our main level for today. The bias is changing. So last night I said there was a bearish bias. Obviously there is a bullish bias now, as long as we stay above this 92 level. The day shape is also changing from kind of a bearish trend day to more of a double distribution capital B day. Okay, is it the same story on NASDAQ? Let's take a look here. So trade plan is the same, holding above or below that 108 level, but we have not started the value retrace on NASDAQ. So the value retrace has already begun on ES, and the reason that is because the value area is much wider on ES. The value area on NASDAQ is very tight, and it's on the high, so we don't have that retrace just yet. So holding above 108, look for 185. You can also look for the POC, and then around 300 as well if it goes for a breakout. You could also lower that 300 target down to 222, which I'm actually going to do. 300 is a little far away. Let's say 222. Holding below 108, we're going to look for 923, which is basically the overnight low, and then also 800. In the meantime, you could target today's value if you want to look for a retrace back into today's value area. You can look for those targets as well. Okay. So almost the same story as ES. The only difference is it has not started that value retrace. So it's slightly lagging. All right, here is the updated trade plan. Let me block my screen for 1 second. I know you guys can't see. 1 second. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Tachi, Michael, Bobby. Let me pin this trade plan before I forget. There you go. AT, Alex, JC. Good morning, Bobby, Lulu, Vu, Roger, Jose, Techie, Scott, Jesse. Good morning, Leo, Tom, Curtis, Blood. Good morning, Larry, Future, Trevor, Morris, Shima, Lubo, Max, Jax, Ordinary, Joe, Unleashed, Fernando. Good morning, Trevor, Scott, Trent, Typhoon, Devil, Keegan, Wesley. Appreciate you guys being here. Good morning. All right, just waiting on the open. What's going on with our 30-minute candles right now? Let's take a look. So since 3 a.m., which is the overnight low, damn near every single candle has taken out the prior candle's high. You had a couple of candles right here that did not, but pretty much every single one. You've only had 2 candles since the overnight low that have not taken out the prior high. So very strong trend since that, what time was that? 3 a.m. So keep an eye on that prior high. Might get taken out right away. This 8:30 candle that had the news come out, the data come out, is pretty weak on the bottom half of the candle. So if it does start fairly bearish, keep an eye on that lower portion, probably going for a retrace there. You do have a lot of bearish delta coming in at 95 that is currently being absorbed. So overall trend is very bullish. Nearly every candle breaking the prior candle's high, but it is showing signs of weakness going into the open. It depends on what you're asking, Bobby. I use every single session for my volume profiles. I have a pre-market profile, I have a full session profile, and I have a RTH profile. So to answer your question, I use all of them. And to answer your question, Tom, same exact answer. The blue one is the pre-market profile. The other profile, the one that's like white and gray, that is the full session profile. And then this one down here is the cash profile. So like I said, I use all three. Good morning, Kay. Good morning, Dark Trader, eBay, Darius, 2013, OD, C-Mac, Ronaldo. Okay, like we said, watch those highs. Almost every single candle has taken out the prior candle's high. You're bouncing off the 1 minute trail right on the open here. That low right there is the 1 minute trail. Back into that area that we love, the 97 and 300, instantly failing it. They really like this 300 area this week. You can see the sellers trying to protect it. And we keep seeing this pattern. I think every day this week we've seen this pattern where we have this immediate sweep of the high. I think Monday, yesterday, and today, we have a sweep of the high. So that high was taken out, but it has turned into a sweep trade immediately. And like I said, that is that key level, that 300. 300 to 97 is like the, I don't know if it's the POC for this week, but it is definitely the most protected level this week. Like, they are really paying attention to it. Yeah, I don't think it's the POC. No, it's not the POC. But they do love that level. That 97 to 300. Yeah, not a very safe open here. We're sweeping both directions, sweeping the high and the low. So be very careful. Good morning, Churchill. It's you. Good morning. Okay, here is that bearish delta that was coming in earlier. If they hold below that delta, this lower portion of the candle is very weak. Very easy to retrace. Now, the PPI candles are not like the CPI. They don't really need to be retraced. But regardless, you would still look for that low if it does continue. That's the most obvious level, is the retrace of that PPI candle, the 85 level. We're still in a 30-minute pinch to the buy side. It started with that bottom candle that we showed earlier, where the highs have been taken out pretty much every single time. You have a 30-minute blue pivot at the candle after that, 3:30. The pinch starts at 4:30 a.m., and then we've been going since 4:30. It's pretty much topped out. You're hitting the upper extreme. So watch for that short-term momentum to start pulling back a little bit. Keep an eye on that 5-minute trail. It's been doing a really good job. You had a pivot on the absolute low, the low of the overnight, at 61. The trail flipped at 3:50 a.m., and it has not been broken since. You tested it 5 times. It gave you 5 buy signals. Obviously, every single one has worked. So keep an eye on that trail. It's being widely respected. Trading at 92 right now. Here's VWAP. Keep an eye on VWAP on NASDAQ. VWAP at 21. Very far from VWAP on ES. Needs 84. We lost the 5-minute trail on NASDAQ. So the same thing I just said on ES was true on NASDAQ. It was respecting it the entire time. Until now. So the trail was at 51. So it is failing the trail before ES. So it's kind of leading to the downside here. $30-minute trail coming up at 06. The 30 minutes are nearly identical on ES and NASDAQ, but look at the difference here. So if you look at the 30-minute on NASDAQ compared to ES, they're doing almost the same exact thing, but NASDAQ is ahead of it. So both of their momos are topped out. Short-term momentum probably going to come down a little bit, putting in a pivot and already pulling back to that trail on NQ, not doing it on ES. Still holding that trail on ES5. Here's the back test of the trail on NASDAQ at 50. We'll keep an eye on that one. Extremely indecisive on ES. The decision has been made on NASDAQ. It's pretty bearish. But on ES, you just keep going back and forth. You'd have to think with NASDAQ selling like this, ES is going to break downward. But they just keep holding on to that 97 to 300. Yeah, typically when this is happening, you have to check the Dow Jones and Russell. And typically, if ES is trying to go up and NASDAQ's going down, it's because Dow Jones and Russell are going up. And that's exactly what's happening. Russell is up 0.75 and Dow is up 0.45. Probably another value rotation, I'm guessing. Sector-wise, not volume profile. Yeah, it looks like a rotation. Not a very big rotation because you still have green on a lot of these big names. Look at how much bigger PLTR has gotten. What's their market cap now? $350 billion? Yeah, possibly a little bit of a rotation. We've been seeing that a lot recently with the big ETFs. A lot of the ETFs that they're still in growth, but they're a bit heavier in value, have been getting very high net inflows. A lot of money flowing into them. And then ETFs that are very heavy in growth, not so much in value, they've been seeing outflows. Which is very weird because even with the inflow-outflow discrepancy, look at where the market is. I mean, these stocks are still ripping higher. Okay, that little cluster of bearish delta finally being taken out. That micro pullback candle, unfortunately, being broken on the high and the low, taken out on both sides. Typically, those candles are pretty good at determining which direction you're going to move in. Unfortunately, it has been taken out in both directions. So the prevailing direction right now is obviously bearish if it holds below that 94. Here's that 5-minute trail. We have not lost it since the overnight low. So we'll see if 92 holds here. It's kind of like yesterday when we were watching the 30-minute trail on the open, and we lost the 30-minute trail for the first time the entire day, and then you nuked for the rest of the day. Now, the 5 minutes not going to be as strong as the 30-minute, but same idea. NASDAQ losing VWAP. You kind of ping-ponged between the VWAPs there for a little bit. Bounced off the session, failed the daily about 3 or 4 times. Okay, we've lost this distribution range low, so keep a close eye on that back test. You've already back tested it twice, and it so far does not like that level. So if you don't get back above 95 very soon, it's going to pull back down, possibly to 85. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Joan. Not a good look on the macro, the higher time frames, that we lost 6,300, retested it, and then sold it aggressively. That is the key level right now. I posted a screenshot yesterday in Discord going over like the higher time frames, and it looks pretty bad if they stay below 6,300. Starting to lose that 5-minute trail if we don't quickly get back above 92. This is the 30-minute trail on NASDAQ at 05. 05 on NQ and 280 on ES for that 30-minute trail. 5-minute trail on NASDAQ has flipped red. We lost the trail at 50. We have not flipped the trail on the 5-minute for ES. You're trying to break below it at 92, but you're not flipping it red just yet. Good morning, Yusa James. Good morning, guys. Pretty sloppy price action today. You can see this candle's highlighted teal. That's because we broke the high and we broke the low. If it's highlighted yellow, it's only breaking the high. If it's highlighting purple, it's only breaking the low. So it helps us identify those one time framing patterns. That's funny, Waco. I didn't even see your question, and I started answering that. Yeah, there you go. They're color coded based on which direction they are breaking. So yellow for breaking the prior high, teal for breaking the prior... Sorry, yellow for breaking the prior high, purple for breaking the prior low, teal for breaking both sides. Hey, James, I appreciate you using the code, man. Keep an eye on VWAP here. VWAP at 86 coming up. We have completely lost the 5-minute trail at 92. We have not flipped it red just yet, but it should be flipping pretty soon. No, I have not made any changes to my volume profile, unless you're referring to the 30-minute chart. And I still have not made any changes to the volume profile, just the color. The profile is the same, it's just color-coded based on delta. Okay, like I said earlier, if you did not quickly reclaim 95, you were going down to 85. There's that 85. That is that prior low there. And here's the bottom of that candle I talked about, which is the same as the 85, but on the 30-minute you can see it's extremely weak. Now it's being retraced. And you can see how quickly we lost that 5-minute trail at 92, instantly dropped 10 points. Putting in a 1-minute pivot here, 5-minute pivot on NQ. Which one, trader? You mean the one that's coloring my candles? It's called Color Bar HHLL. It colors the bars based on the direction. I think I actually finally like what this chart looks like, so I'm probably going to upload the workspace into Discord later this week. See if I want to make any final changes before I do. All right, that 1-minute pivot giving you a little bit of a bounce here. Pivot at 83. 30-minute trail coming up at 78. Like I said, it's really hard for me to analyze all these charts and the momos and read them off to you guys. So if you're trying to do the analysis that we did on Monday with like the momo and the OTS, you're going to have to do that mostly on your end. Just a lot of time frames to cover. Good morning, Bilal. Good morning, Mauser. So that was a pretty damn good leading indicator there on NASDAQ. NASDAQ was selling off pretty early. He didn't start selling until like 9:40. on ES. Back testing that 83 pivot here. Now putting in a 5-minute pivot at the same level. Here's the 15-minute trail at 84, lining up with that pivot. The 15-minute trail has actually been very good recently. The last few days. Here's the 15-minute trail. You can see how good it was the last, basically the entire week. Very strong, clean move up, clean move down. And now we're back into that move up. So we're testing it at 84 here. Five-minute pivot, 1-minute pivot, bouncing off the 1-minute pivot. They're trying to protect that low before the 830 data came out. Also where VWAP is. The pivots are from my OTS indicator. And no, it's not free. Fifteen-minute trail at 84, still being tested. 5-minute trail flipping red, 93. Still holding the 83 pivot for now. Not looking too good on the macro. Back testing 6,300 and failing 20 points already. value retrace has failed, and we could call that an incomplete auction. That's a pretty big incomplete auction if we do close like this, leaving open the rest of that value that would need to be retraced pretty soon. This is the macro picture that does not look very good. Failed higher value, failed, failed. Resting liquidity, all in the same area. Now, I don't know if today will be the day that just nukes down and grabs that liquidity, but I would be looking for possibly the 40s if any kind of bearish catalyst does push us down. Keep an eye on those ADMAs doing a very good job holding you down here. If you break above those, watch the 24 EMA and the trails. Identify resting liquidity. Well, if you look at the poor lows, there's a bunch of poor lows back to back to back there. So there's a bunch of untested lows. So if you just think about how people like to trade, it's kind of like monkey see, monkey do. They see people put their stops there, so that's where they want to put their stops, right? Very common to put your stops below like below low a day, above high a day, stuff like that. That back test holding below VWAP. I don't really know if I'd call that a bear flag in a VWAP because it's just too small. But it has been failing VWAP in the same regard. Bounced in a VWAP, failed. This is that buy pressure from those bottom pivots. You have a 1 minute pivot at 83, 5 minute pivot at 82. They're not able to get above that trail though, so still look pretty bearish. You're bouncing off a 15-minute pivot on NASDAQ to the tick. The low there. Little dangerous for NASDAQ turning into a bearish pinch pretty soon. Looks very similar to yesterday where the higher time frames are taking over and pushing us down. 15-minute very bearish, 30-minute very bearish. You failed that 30-minute pivot at 6,300, damn near to the tick. Okay, so this is what I was saying earlier. Let me show you on this chart. So remember earlier I said the 30-minute was showing that pinch, but it was topped out. So the short-term momentum was probably going to start coming down. This is exactly what I meant. So you have that pinch, but it was topped out. It kind of hit that positive 20. So when that happens, typically the short-term momentum starts to cool off. And now the short-term momentum is obviously cooling off. It's kind of more aggressive than you would expect. But yeah, that's the pattern there. When you see that pinch kind of cooling off, it hits the 20 and then pulls back. Here's that 30-minute trail at 78. And here's that pivot that I talked about earlier. So here's a pivot where it's kind of testing it on the high there. Like I said, hard to cover all that in real time. Just keep them up on your charts. A lot of time frames to cover. Losing the 1 minute pivot at 83, possibly putting in a fish hook pattern on the 1 minute. That long-term momentum starting to flatten out at 15, negative 15 to be exact. We've basically lost every single support except for the 30-minute trail. We've lost every trail, we've lost every pivot. 30-minute trail is the only thing holding you up right now. You lost a 15-minute trail at 84. Could be a big bull div on the 1 minute, now turning into a 30-minute sweep as well. This is the best the buyers have looked the entire day. So if they fail here, they're looking pretty bad. Yeah, look at the delta coming in. This is the best the buyers have looked the entire day. So look at this on the 1 minute now. Very strong bull div coming in here. Reclaiming the 5-minute pivot at 82. Now reclaiming the 1 minute trail. Keep an eye on that daily VWAP. That would probably be a bear flag in the VWAP. On the daily at 90. I wouldn't really call it a bear flag on the session VWAP. You didn't pull away from it too much. But you have pulled away from the daily pretty far. All right, big question here is, are the buyers going to be trapped? Because this is the best they've looked the entire day. Okay, here is the bear flag into VWAP on NASDAQ. It needs to stay below 11. If it sweeps, the sweep needs to stay below, I'd say, like 30. On ES, needs to stay below 90. If it sweeps, I'd say below, like, 93. And this was that 30-minute trail. It was the only thing left. It was the only support left. At least the supports that I use, right? From the 1 minute to the 30-minute. Everything else was taken out. The 30-minute trail at 78. The last line of support actually holding. Sellers coming in on VWAP here. Not seeing a ton of buy pressure into VWAP. Now, if you were in a short from that impulse, this is most likely stopping you out. It's one of those hard ones where the bounce was pretty damn big. It was about 10 points, a little over 10 points. So most likely trailing you out. But it's turning into like another bearish trade. So you have to ask yourself, like, do I hold on because it's basically another bearish trade? Do I close it and then enter like a new bearish trade? It's really up to the trader. It's kind of hard. It's hard to manage that one. But for example, like if you were in a short from up here and then you saw it bounce right here, this is giving away 10 points of profit. Actually, even more than that. Most people are not going to allow it to bounce 12 to 13 points. Right. But then it's bouncing into another bearish trade because you could take another bearish trade on that bear flag into VWAP. So it's like, okay, how do I manage this? Like I said, it's really up to the trader. It's hard to manage. Yeah, Trent, for the tutoring, basically what I ask you guys to prepare is just have like topics ready. Like have the main things that you're struggling with in your trading, um, have those ready to go. And then also the the second and third and fourth sessions are typically trade reviews. So the first session is kind of just an introduction. We're going over like what your problems are, what are the main pain points in your trading, the things that you consecutively just do wrong over and over and over again. And we talk about kind of ways to fix those problems. And then we kind of put it into practice where you go out and you take some trades, hopefully on like a paper trading account or like an Apex account, like a funding account, where you're not risking your own money. And then from that point on, we're doing trade reviews, right? So we're still covering the things you're doing wrong in your exact trades. Maybe you're looking at the pattern wrong. Maybe you're getting in too late. You're getting in too early. You're predicting too much. Yeah, that's the basic layout of how the tutoring works. First session is more of an introduction, figure out the problems, put it into practice, and then go over some trade reviews. Another way we can do the tutoring is if you just have a bunch of questions on like what is the volume profile, how do you trade the volume profile, stuff like that. We can cover stuff like that as well. So like if you have the exact strategy questions or whatnot. But yeah, I don't do the tutoring like probably some other people do it, where they have like a defined like course that I'm teaching. I'm not doing it like that. It's more of a Q&A type thing. It's very personalized. I'm not just giving every person the same tutoring. It's up to what problems you have, and we're trying to fix those problems. By the way, keep an eye on this higher low. It's kind of a rollover bottom here. If it puts in this higher low and protects it, which it currently is, this is a rollover bottom. So we had a defined low, we swept the low, and then we put in a higher low. We don't see these rollover bottoms very often. This one's a little bit dangerous because typically with a rollover bottom, you want to be targeting VWAP. Well, unfortunately, you're already on VWAP, so you can't really target VWAP on this one. Yes, I would call it an incomplete auction, but we're predicting that. We have to wait for the day to close. But yeah, Trent, did that answer your question on the tutoring? Good morning, Tiny. And I still need to update the website. I just haven't had a lot of time recently. I need to update the website. I need to add the testimonials, and I'm possibly going to lower the tutoring. It's still going to be the same price, but instead of forcing you guys to sign up for 4 sessions, I was going to lower it to 2 sessions. It will still be the same price per session, but you don't have to sign up for 4 right away if you don't want to. But yeah, I do need to make an update to the website, possibly this weekend. No promises. Been pretty busy. Yeah, when you sign up for the tutoring, I don't right away give you access to like the indicators, but if you would like to try them out while we're doing the tutoring, like if you have questions about them, and you want to try them out, I can give you access to like the Momo and OTS while we're doing the tutoring, so you can try it out and then ask me questions about it. And then the last thing about the tutoring is at the end of it, if you want to sign up for Discord, whatever you paid for tutoring just goes directly into your Discord. So it's a full rebate for the the Discord price. Okay, like I said, we are in a rollover bottom, but unfortunately, it's hitting VWAP already. So you would typically target VWAP on this rollover bottom. So you would have to target above VWAP, which we don't really have any defined targets above VWAP. You could use the trails. We have a trail at 91. We have pivots at 300. Yeah, Adam, I'm trading on my iPad. You guys don't see it on stream. I don't call out my trades. You guys don't see my trades. Still putting in higher lows, still protecting those EMAs here. Keep an eye on VWAP. VWAP coming up right now. 1 minute trail flipping green, and we have a pinch that is nearly topped out. 5 minute trail coming up at 91. Your question about monitors? Let me see. No, I don't use curved monitors. I have regular monitors. My monitor setup is not the greatest. It's kind of like Frankenstein together after so many years. I just buy a monitor, add it on, buy a monitor, add it on. I appreciate that, TDL. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of progress with our members in the tutoring. You guys are doing a good job. Yeah, going back to your question, by the way, keep an eye on VWAP here. You do not want to go above 92 on ES. You do not want to go above like 20 to 30 on NASDAQ for this bear flag in the VWAP to still be maintained. But going back to my monitors, if I had to start over and I was like building my desk, my like workstation, whatever you want to call it, I would probably just get one very large monitor, like those large Odyssey monitors, the very curved. I don't know how big they are. I think they're like 40 something inches. I'd probably get one of those, and then I'd mount an ultra wide above that, and that'd probably be good enough. But instead, what I have is three 27-inch monitors side by side. Then I have a mounted ultra wide, and they're not curved, so like I do have to turn my head or turn my chair a lot. But yeah. If I started over, like I said, I would just get one really large monitor and then mount one above it. Okay, are we going to hold below VWAP here? Holding below 90 and holding below 23,010 right now. It is bouncing pretty aggressively off those averages, though, those EMAs. You can just use the default VWAP indicator. You don't need to use any crazy indicators for VWAP. The default indicator is perfectly fine, and then if you want to use like the anchored VWAP, they have a built-in drawing tool on TradingView as well. Yeah, VWAP's one of those indicators that people have all these fancy tools and they do all kinds of crazy calculations and whatnot. You don't need any of that fancy stuff with VWAP. VWAP by itself is perfectly fine. What you can add to VWAP is like the standard deviation bands. That's perfectly fine. That's very normal. VWAP closes are also very good on higher time frames. Like this chart, I use VWAP closes. So like the dotted line here, that's just showing you where the prior day's VWAP closed. So VWAP closes are pretty good as well. Like here's a good example. This VWAP close was damn near the high of day right here. And then that VWAP close was damn near the low of day. So VWAP closes are pretty good. Okay, bear flag into VWAP so far holding to the tick here on ES and on NASDAQ actually. Yeah, Trent, I'm pretty available. I have a lot of tutoring sessions right now, so it's pretty hard for them to fill up. I have 2 sessions. I have 10 sessions a week. I do 2 sessions every day, Monday through Friday. Right now, the only time I can do them is after the market, so like 4 o'clock. Well, 4:15 to be exact. 4:15 to 5 o'clock is the first session, and then the second session is 5:15 to 6 o'clock. So I know I have a lot of members and viewers from Europe and Asia. Unfortunately, I don't have any other times if those are not good for you guys. Hey, Scott. Yeah, I think we have a session later today. Well, it's tonight for you. Still failing VWAP. You still have that VWAP failure to the tick right now. It's not the cleanest. It's definitely not a. It's not a. It's not one that's making you feel really good. It keeps putting in higher lows, or at least trying to. Yeah, no worries, Scott. I was just making sure I didn't mess up on my end. Yeah, Adam, replay's pretty good. TradingView has a built-in replay. Addis has replay. Pretty much everybody has replay nowadays. Replay's not bad. If you guys don't have access to replay, then you can just look up my live streams and watch my charts. I have live streams pretty much every single trading day for the first 2 to 3 hours of the day. So if you want to replay how the delta looks, you can just watch my live streams. Okay, here is that problem with putting in a higher low when you have a bear flag trade. So there's the higher low. As we talk about, that threatens your trade. Doesn't completely kill your trade. But when it starts doing something like that, then your trade is dead. So now you have a higher low turning into a big spike in buy pressure. So those trades are now dead. There was the EIA announcement for the oil markets. Is that what's causing this little spike here? Let's see. How's oil reacting? It was a pretty decent drop in oil. I don't see any other headlines, so it looks like that was due to the EIA announcement, which is pretty rare. We don't see those affecting equities that much anymore. Turning into a 30-minute sweep of that high. I mean, it was a pretty big report. U.S. inventory is up by 4.17 million. Last reading, they were down 825,000. This was a battle between the rollover bottom trade and the bear flag and the VWAP trade, and it looks like the rollover bottom is winning. You had that higher low right here turning into another higher low. A very sloppy trend here, trying to turn into higher highs and higher lows. Oh yeah, what happened to that that afternoon break? Did we repair that? Yeah, there you go. So look at this afternoon break here. Repaired it right at the open. So it's not an insanely strong down move, because when it's really strong, it puts in an afternoon break and it does not repair it the next day. So like if we were opening up down here and we did not repair that, it's pretty damn bearish. But we did repair that right out of the open. Now you could say it's respecting it. It did sell it immediately. But it did in fact repair it right away, so it's not not overly bearish. A good example is way back here. We had a very strong afternoon break on June 23rd. Very obviously did not get repaired. And then look at how bullish that was. So I would say that's pretty bearish, but it's not like starting an entirely new downtrend bearish. Definitely respected that afternoon break. All right, let's do a little update on what's going on with the indicators here. So it looks like this is a trap, to be honest. It's back below the trail again, back below the pivot. You had a bear div here on the 1 minute of NASDAQ. Same thing on ES. 5 minute hitting the trail, confirming the trap. Trying to lose that pivot. 15 minute trying to lose the trail. 30 minute still using the trail as support. So that's still the last support here. Is that 30-minute trail at 78. So it looks like that little headline there, the EIA, popped above VWAP, broke most of those trades, unless you were keeping a wide stop on ES. That bear flag trade was taken out, which is unfortunate because it turned into a sweep. That is the problem with trading right there, is you can be taken out by a headline and you can't really do anything about it, unfortunately. And you wouldn't really predict being taken out by an EIA headline because the market has not reacted to those headlines for a long time. That was very unusual. Yeah, Bobby, you can't be doing that. Can't be up a lot and then still taking a full stop. At the bare minimum, you want to be taking a break-even stop. That's one of the biggest things I cover in my tutoring sessions. I see that time and time again, where traders are letting trades come back way too much. Points are always relative, so it's always up to like your average trade, your average win, what you're looking for, stuff like that. But I think most people are in the ballpark of looking for like 5 to 10 points if they're trading ES. Like 15 points is a really big trade. So being up like 7 to 10 points and then letting it come back is definitely pretty rough for most people. Yeah, it's always hard to figure out like what you should take profit. Like, should you use the prior highs, the prior lows, VWAPs, moving averages, value levels? Like, there's just so many ways to do it. You really have to figure out what mechanically works best with that setup. Like when you're taking that setup, what is normally where your target wants to be? Like if you want a target to be 5 points normally, what is typically there? Is it typically the moving averages? Is it typically VWAP? Is there typically a prior high there? Like whatever, right? So you got to figure out what lines up with that setup. Like the bear flag and the VWAP's a great example. Mechanically, what lines up with your setup is the prior low. There is always a prior low there. There has to be a prior low there, right? It's not like we're predicting there's a prior low. There has to be a prior low there for the setup to even be, to even exist, right? For us to even take that setup, there has to be a prior low. So therefore, we can always target that prior low because it has to be there. It's like a rollover top trade. VWAP has to be below you. The setup does not work if VWAP is not below you. So we can always target VWAP on a rollover top trade. So you have to figure out mechanically what has to exist for your setup to be a tradable setup, right? Hey, Trent. Yeah, so shortly you'll see access in Discord to the tutoring channel, and the tutoring channel has the link to where you can like sign up for sessions and see what's available. So after stream, that channel should pop up for you. I have this candle highlighted here because that's the candle that started the flip, right? That's where the buy pressure began to come in, which flipped the market structure. And it's being protected beautifully. You had a retest there to the tick, damn near to the tick on that retest, and now we're retesting it again. So it is getting a little bit weak. You've been retested 3 times already. But that is where the buyers were the strongest. Yeah, that was unfortunate with that headline. It probably stopped you out break even on ES unless you kept your stop where it was. It definitely stopped you out on NASDAQ because you had a higher low, which was already scaring you in that trade, and then it popped above VWAP aggressively. So that's going to stop out most people. You'd have to be using like a mental stop to not be stopped out there. Basically waiting to see how the headline played out. But yeah, that was just an unpredictable headline, unfortunately. That's one of those things where you're just like, it's just not much you can do about it, unfortunately. It's like when you get stopped out by a block trade. You can't predict block trades. You can't predict headlines. You can't predict block trades. You could have predicted at, like you knew the inventories were coming out at 10:30. That's on the calendar. You knew that was going to happen. Did you know it was actually going to impact the equities market this time? Very unlikely. Because pretty much every single report that's come out this year, and even last year, they have not impacted the equities market too much. They have to be very unusual to impact the equities market. This one was very unusual. That's why it spiked like that. Yeah, the trailing drawdown on trades like that definitely hurts. It shouldn't impact you too much on something like that. That's only like a 10-point move, not even. It's like a 7-point move, I think. So your trailing drawdown shouldn't be that close. Your trailing drawdown should always be at a point where you could have like multiple max loss days and not lose the account. Like I should be able to hit my max loss, like whatever I made for myself, at least like 3 times. Probably even more than that, like 4 or 5 times. Before the trailing drawdown becomes a problem. Like if you have a 50K, you have a 2,500 drawdown. Let's say you have a daily max loss of like $300. And then you have to adjust that a little bit because it's a drawdown. It's not just a set. It's not set in stone. So you could say that you could add like $200 to that, maybe even like $300 to it, to account for the trail. And you would still be able to max loss 3 days in a row and still not lose your account. That buy pressure is still being protected. You can see the top of that candle just being bounced every time. Well, that's what I was saying, volume. So, like, if your max loss is $300, you could factor in probably another $200 to $300 on top of that to be to calculate it for your trail. Like maybe you were up $200 or $300 and you let it come back. Now that would be a pretty big. That'd be giving it a little more than I would, because if you think about being up $200 to $300 and letting it come back, and your max loss is 300, that doesn't make any sense. Because you're damn near hitting. Excuse me, you're damn near hitting what should be your daily goal, and then letting it come all the way back into a max loss. That's, I mean, you're asking to lose the account at that point. It's why I continuously preach, like, probably number 1 or number 2 rules that I always talk about is not allowing these winning trades to come back on you that much. Obviously, you got to let them come back a little bit. You got to trail a little bit every now and then, but letting them come back fully is just, you're just begging to lose money. The best way to fix that mindset is like when you get stopped out for, let's say, 5 points and you were up 10 points, You didn't just lose 5 points, you just lost 15 points. And you need to start looking at it that way to rewire your brain to understand that unrealized profit is profit. Like, people have this weird understanding that, or this way of thinking that unrealized profit is like fake money and doesn't exist. If I'm up 10 points and I let it come back 15 points to stop me out, I lost 15 points. I didn't just lose 5 points. Turning into a really strong trend here. One time framing on the 1 minute chart. ADMA being protected. Keep an eye on that prior high I have marked out around 98. That's the next major level here. And I know I come off as like I'm always defending the trailing drawdown, but I'm really just trying to make you guys understand that you need to have that in your trading, whether it's a real account or a funding account. You need to keep that same mindset. So if you keep blaming your losses on a trailing drawdown, you are not going to make it in a regular account anyway. It's also one of the things that, this is the last thing I'm going to say. I'm tired of this topic, to be honest. It's also one of those things that you never hear people that are in paid accounts or consistently profitable talking about it, because it does not exist when you're in a paid account. Once you get past that hump, once you get past that hurdle of the evaluation account, once you show that you're consistent, the trailing drawdown does not exist. I mean, it does exist for a small amount of time, obviously. But once you have like a couple of good days, a couple of green days, it no longer exists. Okay, still keeping an eye on that prior high, that prior doji at 98, which is also the open. Okay, take back what I just said. Let's see what this headline is. Remember what I said about headlines earlier? You can't predict them. I don't see the headline just yet. Chatter about firing JP. I don't think that's it. That's been talked about for quite some time. I mean, is he actually being fired? That might be a headline. My news feed's being very slow. I don't see anything for this. If you guys see something, let me know. Okay, I do see the headline that you just said about firing JP. I really don't think that's what's causing this drop. They've been talking about that for so long. That should be priced in already. And if that is what's causing this drop, it should be bouncing immediately. This should be an overreaction 100%. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that is the headline, and that is 100% an overreaction. And that's why they bounced 10 points right there instantly. That is a ridiculous reaction to that headline that we've been seeing for like months now. And also, I mean, I'm not a macro guy. I don't know all the intricate details that go into it, but wouldn't that be bullish? Pretty sure that would be bullish. Because the whole point of him firing JP would be to get a new Fed chair that wants to cut rates more aggressively. And cutting rates more aggressively would be bullish. So I don't really understand the negative reaction there. It doesn't make sense in my brain. I think what we're seeing right now are the bots instantly sold it and the humans are buying it back, but we'll see. Is it going to hold on to 77? It's the uncertainty factor. Yeah, it is a little uncertain. Yep. That's unfortunate, Tamer. Yeah. You, did you not have your stops in place? Is that what happened? Because that was only like a 10-point move, right? Let me see. That was close to 20, about 15. 15-point move. Keep an eye on that poor low. Poor low coming up at 75 to repair. This seems like an overreaction to me, but I'm not going to trade on feelings, right? We're going to see how it plays out. Let's ask ChatGPT, has a Fed chair ever been fired? Because I don't remember one being fired. Has a Fed chair ever been fired? Oh, you like got in the trade right away when that happened, Tamer? Yeah, this is bad timing, man. Unfortunate. It says none have ever been removed during their term. The Federal Reserve Act does not clearly define for cause. So it doesn't clearly define how they can be fired. That's pretty funny. People argue that any firing of the Fed chair would be argued in court, challenged in court. It would undermine Fed independence, yeah. Yeah, so it is a bit of uncertainty, I guess you would say. The uncertainty is this has never happened before. But I would argue that if it did happen, it's kind of bullish. I'm not saying I hate JP or anything, but the whole reason he's being fired is he's not cutting rates the way that Trump thinks he should. So therefore, you would have to imply that the person who takes his job would cut rates more aggressively. Yeah, Tamer, they don't do brackets, but they do copy trade them. So if you put in your stop on one account, it puts in your stop on all the accounts, but it doesn't bracket it, unfortunately, which is really dumb. Yeah, so there's two arguments right now. There's an argument that the uncertainty is very bearish, and the argument that I'm making is if he is replaced, we would be cutting rates more aggressively, which is bullish. Now, I'm not going to talk about what I think is right. I don't really care. I'm not going to make an opinion on it. But those are the two trading arguments that are being made. What's a bracket? A bracket is when you put in a trade and it instantly puts in your target and stop loss for you, so you don't have to put in 3 different orders when you're trading. You can use brackets on pretty much every platform, but Trade-Evade doesn't let you use brackets if you're copy trading. You have to put in your trades manually. So you have to take the trade, which will take the trade on all the accounts, put in the stop, it puts it in on all the accounts, put in the target, puts it in all the accounts. So it doesn't do the brackets, you have to do them one by one. Now, if you have 10 accounts, you still only have to do it one time. But you do have to do it manually. I believe Trade-Evade's like the only one that does that. Addis and NinjaTrader let you use brackets, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. My opinion is this is an overreaction. But like I said, I'm not here to give you my opinions. We talk about things that are based in fact and logic. But I think that's kind of a ridiculous reaction to a headline that's we've been seeing for months. Now, funny enough, I've been talking about that that resting liquidity, and this could be that that bearish catalyst. They needed some kind of catalyst to push this down, to grab all this liquidity, and they might have just gotten their headline. We shall wait and see. We'll see how the market kind of cleans this one up. Yeah, exactly, SK. It's not a problem if you're only trading a couple times a day because you just gotta press like a few extra buttons, not a big deal. But if you're scalping and you trade a bunch of times a day, it's gonna be a pain in the ass. Oh, has it changed a lot, Mauser? Let me take a look. Or are you just referencing what it said earlier? I don't know if it's going to price in this headline yet. We are pricing in 1051. So when did that headline come out? It came out at 1054. We got to wait like 10 more minutes. It's not priced in yet. They're about like 20 minutes behind. It could be a very nasty bulldog, like a very choppy, sloppy one, but it's not clean. No, I've never used any copy trading except for Trade-Evade. Trade-Evade's the only one I've ever used. I might have used NinjaTrader back in the day, but I don't remember. I mean, I'd make the argument unleashed, and this is just me constantly countering you. I don't mean to be countering all of your guys' points all the time when it comes to trading. But I would make the counter argument that if the time between putting in your order and then going to put in your stop loss and your target, if you're already taking a really big hit, or if you're up a lot, whatever, you're probably trading too much size. Like in that mere couple of seconds, if that's already a pain in the ass, your size is probably way too big. Yeah, Sean, I agree. I would keep an eye on the bond market and the yield market when it comes to headlines like that, the JP stuff. Yeah, I would say if you guys are like micro scalping, like you're going for like really small trades in and out in like less than a minute or two, then copy trading on Tradebait is probably not going to be great. You probably want to copy trade on Addis or NT or something else, because having to put in those extra orders is going to be a pain in the ass. But if you're like me, you're only trading a couple times a day, not a whole lot, your trades are like very slow, that couple seconds is not going to do anything to you. Like worst case scenario, your power goes out in that mere 5 seconds it takes to put in a stop. I'm not calling out anybody in particular, but what I've seen over the last like 2-3 years of talking about these prop accounts, I think the vast majority of people's issues come from them trading too much size. I think that is like by far the number one issue. People are trading more than they should be. It goes back to my prior argument that you should not be able to blow up an account in one day. It should be physically impossible for you to blow up an account in one day. You should be able to blow up an account in 3 days. If you can blow up an account by hitting your max loss in 1 day or like less than a week, you are trading too much size. And people can argue that fact if you want, but if you continue to blow up accounts, you don't really have a leg to stand on in that argument. What do you mean, Gunk? I'm not sure what you mean. You see, on the Addis copier, the followers always hit the market as opposed to putting limits out. I'm trying to figure out what scenario you're talking about. So, like, you're putting in a trade, it goes to copy. What do you mean? It puts in markets instead of limits. If your initial trade... Oh, are you saying like your initial trade, if you put in a limit, it hits the limit on the initial trade, and then as it copies every other account, instead of them all having limits, the other accounts use markets? Is that what you're saying? That seems pretty weird if that's the case. I feel like the copied accounts should use the exact method you did to enter the first account. If you used a market, they should use markets. If you used a limit, it should be putting a limit on every account. The others use market orders to follow. Is that like a setting? Or is that just like something that they have to do? That doesn't really make sense to me. I've never used a copy or an addis, so I haven't heard about that. Still keeping an eye on that prior high. This is what I said earlier. This is the overreaction move. This is an overreaction. The market agrees, and they're buying it back up. It's the way their copier is built. I've never heard anybody say that. That's interesting. So when you put in a limit on your main account, your master account, instead of putting in a limit on every account, it waits for that limit to be hit, and then it markets in to copy those accounts. Gotcha. That's good to know. Like I said, I've never used it, so I'm not sure. That's an interesting way of doing it. I'm pretty sure there's a setting to stop that, because I'm pretty sure we've had, now that we're having this talk, it's like deja vu. I'm pretty sure we've had this talk before with somebody else in Discord. And I'm almost certain there's a setting to turn that off. I'm almost certain you can fix that. Because like I said, I'm pretty sure we've had this conversation before. Does somebody know what I'm talking about? Is there a way to fix that in Addis? Leo said that's why I have it on copy orders and not positions. I think right there is what I was talking about. I think that's how you fix it. I think if you have it set to copying your orders, it will copy the limit on every account instead of waiting for the position to be taken and then having to catch up to that position. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Leo answered my question. I think he's right. We talked about this like when we very first started using Addis. I remember we had this conversation in Discord. There's definitely a way to fix that. And it might be the way that Leo said. If it's not the way that Leo said, there's another way to fix that. I just don't know what it is. Okay, so the overreaction trade, I'm not a big news trader, but if you guys are news traders and you think a headline is completely an overreaction, that is how you would trade it. Basically exactly what you just saw. It found support. If you think it's an overreaction, it's going to go right back to where it was. And there you go. It went right back to where it was. Yeah, Gunk, I'm pretty sure there's a setting for that. So check the setting that Leo said. If it's not that setting, there's another setting for it. I can't remember exactly what we talked about because we talked about this like a year or two ago. But somebody in Discord figured out how to fix that. So there's definitely a fix. And it sounds exactly what Leo said. The reason it's doing what you said is because it's following your positions, not your orders. So it has to wait for the master account to get into a trade. Then it triggers that it's in a position, and it's like, oh shit, I gotta catch up. And then it puts in the market to catch up with that position. And that's where you get the slippage. But if it's copying your orders, then every account wants to get into a position at XYZ, whatever your order is. So if you put in an order at 6,300 to sell, every single one of your accounts puts in an order to sell at 6,300. Therefore, there is no slippage. Well, there shouldn't be slippage. If there's slippage at that point, there's something else. Oh my god, the market is something else. Okay, here we go, guys. Round 2, another headline. Let's see what this one is. Hey, remember how I said they needed some kind of catalyst to grab that liquidity? Holy shit. The market is so funny sometimes. You think Trump fired Powell? Let's take a look. I don't see the headline yet, so if you guys see it, let me know. I feel like my news feed has been pretty slow recently on these big headlines. It's just a continuation of the same headline. White House officials suggest that President Trump might remove Jerome Powell as the chair. So it's a continuation of the same headline. And it literally came... I mean, look at the market here. Look at how ridiculous this is. You guys know I hate the term manipulation. But come on. Headline comes out. It's an overreaction. Bounces back. It's exactly at the same exact price, damn near to the tick, that the first headline came out. And then the second headline, that's the same exact headline, comes out. Now, I typically say if you guys are crying about manipulation, you're just making excuses because you're losing trades. If you're crying about manipulation today, you have a leg to stand on. You have a reason to cry about it today. The market's a little ridiculous today. That's typically my my least favorite word. I don't allow that word in chat. Because most of the time people are just like, oh, I lost a trade, the market's manipulated. They're just making excuses. Yeah, gold's up 1% on that 1.2%. Bitcoin's liking it too, 1.2% on Bitcoin as well. How's the bond market reacting? The dollar's down 0.5%. The 10-year yield is, it was down earlier and it's recovering, so it's still down a little bit. Yeah, be very careful today, guys. This is highly unusual. Oh, this chart's starting to play out. So we needed a bearish catalyst to start repairing these macro levels. That one has been repaired. This one is coming up very soon. We have to go down to 61 to repair that one. And then we have to go down to 44 to repair that one. The new headline is he's likely to fire Trump. That's why it's so much more bearish than the last one. And it's supposedly directly from a White House official. Keep an eye on this 30-minute close. 30-minute close could create single prints back to 73. Yeah, it's one of those things, AT, that like, yes, you definitely could provide sources and you could logically say that the market is kind of manipulated. There's insider trading, yada, yada, yada. Um, but is that the reason you are losing trades? 99%, the answer is no. On days like today, yes, you could argue that you are getting absolutely destroyed by these headlines. These random headlines are ripping people apart. But vast majority of the time, people are just taking bad trades and they're blaming it on manipulation. And you're never going to improve as a trader unless you start blaming yourself. And that's why I'm so hard on you guys in chat. Like when you guys make a statement, and I always seem like I'm countering your statement. Here's a new overnight low, by the way. Overnight low coming up at 55. I'm constantly countering your guys' statements because I want you to understand that you need to self-reflect. Like you need to put everything back on yourself and figure out what the problem is so that you can fix it. Don't just constantly blame other things. You're not going to improve as a trader if you keep blaming other things. Whether it's true or not, right? It doesn't matter if it's true. It being true doesn't make you win trades. Have they ruled on that, OD? I haven't seen that. Might have forgot about that. It was 1.5 months ago. I don't see anything on the ruling. I just see that he cannot fire him just for no reason. He has to fire him for cause, which the Federal Reserve Act is, the definition of cause is vague. So it sounds like he very well could fire him, make up some reason, say that this is the cause, and then it would go to court. I don't think that it's been ruled that he can't do it. It sounds like he can, and it's just going to get instantly fought in court. Which would be a nightmare for the markets, because then it would be uncertainty for X amount of time while they're litigating this bullshit. Okay, so repaired. We have one left. Needs to go down to 42. Yeah, the new Fed building, yeah. Yeah, I've seen that. Like all the government have these giant buildings that they're barely using. Yeah, the quote directly from the Federal Reserve Act says the president may remove a member of the board for cause. They just don't go into great detail on what that cause can be. Over said, can I start watching your videos and learn to trade? No, this is mostly a cooking channel. We're doing tacos tomorrow. Probably steaks on Thursday. Oh, that is tomorrow. Steaks on Friday, sorry. Actually, no more steaks. We just lost so much money, so. Ramen on Friday. Yeah, over. I'm just messing with you. You can watch my playlist. I have them sorted in like kind of like the order of how advanced they are. The how to trade playlist is like the most basic, and then the volume profile is a little bit more advanced, and the order flow one's a bit more advanced than that one. And then once you understand all the topics that you kind of feel like you're trying to learn, you can watch the playbook series, and that's more on like setups. And then I have a ton of shorts if you're looking for like short form content that goes over just like different trading techniques and whatnot. You can watch my my shorts as well. I mean, look at how clean that repair is. Here's that 30-minute repair. Closing in less than a minute here. And they just perfectly repaired that tail. That's up to you. If you think it's going to help that you're like demo trading while learning, or if you want to like take notes and then do it afterwards, that's just up to your learning style, really. I will say that this channel has not really, it's become a channel that's not really for beginner traders, I will say. If you guys are like brand new to trading, this channel is going to kind of blow your mind. It's not going to make a whole lot of sense. This channel's a little bit more advanced nowadays. So you might want to read some books or watch some like beginner videos on like candlesticks and standard stuff like market structure and whatnot. I do have videos on stuff like that. They're pretty old. I don't really make beginner videos too much anymore. Most of my concepts are pretty advanced at this point. I've been wanting to kind of redo my beginner stuff, but I've just kind of accepted the fact that vast majority of my channel is just not really for beginners anymore. Okay, this is... I mean, it looks like the market's kind of doing its own thing, and it's not really following signals, but it's pretty damn perfect. That bounce back perfectly repaired the single prints. You did not create any single prints. The second that candle closed, and they were safe to go down, it is now going down. So we're still looking for... We will still look for like 40 to 42 here to finish grabbing all this liquidity. I mean, you can't make this up, man. We were talking about this at the start of the stream, about how we needed a bearish catalyst to push down. and then we start getting these ridiculous headlines. They always line up with technicals. These quote-unquote random headlines, right? These fundamentals. They always line up with technicals. It's funny how that works. Trump has drafted a letter to fire the Fed chair and asked Republicans if he should. Yeah, so it sounds like what's going to happen is he's probably going to try to remove him. He does have the legal ability to remove him. Now, whether it sticks is the question. Because he has to give a cause, a quote-unquote cause. Does he have a proper cause to keep him fired? That is most likely going to be fought in court. Now, how long is that going to take in court? Who knows? This has never happened before. The Fed chair has never been removed. I'm curious what the cause is going to be. Is it going to be like manipulating markets by not cutting rates when the rest of the world is cutting rates? I don't know. Like, I don't know what the exact argument is. Because his biggest, if you guys have not been, and this isn't the political side, I'm just telling you the facts. If you guys have not been keeping up with what's going on, why he wants to fire Powell, his reasoning is that the rest of the world pretty much are cutting rates aggressively, and the US is not cutting rates aggressively. So he thinks that our rates should be much lower to go hand in hand with like the European rates, whatever, right? So he's basically been saying that Powell is costing the US government a lot of money. I forgot the number that he gave recently. They factored it out to be like, was it like $300 billion? It's something ridiculous. It's some ridiculous number. But he was saying that it's costing the US government X amount of money over X amount of time. And he was saying that Powell needs to cut rates to catch up with the rest of the world. That's the argument. Now, is that a quote-unquote cause that he can fire him for legally? We have no idea. Because like I said, this has never happened before. But that is Trump's side of the story, probably very paraphrased. Don't quote me on that. You can go look it up for yourself. But yeah, you guys know the rules, and I don't even need to give you the rules because I'm about to end the stream. Because I do have to get off a little bit early for the stream today. I will be streaming in Discord, but I do have to get off a little bit early today. Yeah, we're not going to get into the politics side of it. And if he does fire Powell, like I said, we're not getting into the politics. So if it happens tomorrow and you guys are making political statements, you will be banned. You guys know the rules. I'm not going to deal with it. Quite frankly, I'm very tired of talking about politics. I am not a political channel. There are plenty of channels out there. You guys can voice your opinions. This is not one of them. Okay, here we go. We almost hit that level. Here it comes. Looking for 40 to 42 to finish that. Those poor lows. 4 back-to-back poor lows. And we are finally repairing them. But okay, guys, I do have to end stream a little bit. Well, I say early. This is when we're supposed to be ending stream. I've been streaming a lot longer recently. I will be streaming for the rest of the day in Discord. I do have a call to take at 12, so I'll probably have to turn the stream off around that time. I don't know for how long. It shouldn't be too long. But I will be turning the stream off in Discord at around 12 o'clock, and then I'll be back in X amount of time, however long it takes. But yeah, in the meantime, guys, keep an eye on 40 here. This is repairing all those poor lows that I talked about. If it does continue below this, let's take a look at some other targets. Here it is. There you go. So we've been talking about that for the past couple of days, and it has been achieved. Trade plan has been finished. Next target is, sorry, it's not finished yet, 38. So look for 38 and then 20. NASDAQ, we are looking for 800 and 732. But all right, guys, that's it for now. Hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. And I will be streaming in Discord for the rest of the day, like I said. If you're not in Discord, I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you want to support the channel, you can use code BREW, B-R-E-W, on Apex. I believe it's 80% off. If it's not, it's 50% off. You can check out Addis and Discord in the links down below. All right, guys, stay safe today. Today is a nightmare to trade. Be very careful. A lot of headlines coming out. A lot of quote-unquote manipulation, right? So just be very careful. But all right, guys, that's all I got. Peace out.